Ladies and gentlemen, this is Cassius Marcellus Clay. He's young, he's handsome, he's a poet. They know it. I must be the greatest. I told the world I am the greatest. I'm the king of the world. I must be the greatest. I took up the world. I am the greatest. I'm the king of the world. I have wrestled with an alligator, tussled with whales. I have handcuffed lightning, thrown thunder in jail. I'm handsome, I'm pretty, and can't none beat me. I have fulfilled all of my prophecies. They can't be beat. I'm gonna float like a butterfly and sting like a bee. You can't hit what you can't see. Now you see me, now you don't. You think you will, but no, you don't. I must be the greatest. I told the world I am the greatest. I'm the king of the world. I must be the greatest. I took up the world. I am the greatest. I'm the king of the world. I took up the world. I took up the world. I took up the world. No. Because you're fucking out. It was your moment in the fucking had it, you lost it. I'm gonna get you. Get knocked out. Yeah, go fuck. Punch your leg. Fucking punch. Hey. Shake my fucking hand, you pussy. Fucking knocked out twice now. Why? This is faggot. Oh shit, should've said that.
I don't want to make any decisions emotionally, but you know, knowing that in my mind there's a possibility that might have been the last one. It was obviously a good one to have that, and all my kids and everybody were able to come, so you know, it was a little more emotional.
I think he just signed the contract as we were walking in here. I was coming in here and he hadn't signed it yet, but I do believe that it's done and it's official. And on July 9th, UFC 200, I'll be facing Mark Hunt.
Mark Hunt, okay, 42 years old, 8th ranked heavyweight in the UFC. Why Mark Hunt?
Why not? Well, it could be anybody. I didn't care. That's how simple it is.
You mean you didn't have any say at all in who your opponent was going to be?
There was no. No, I didn't. I've never turned down a fight in the UFC. I've never walked away. I'm not the guy. Even when I was a champ, I never turned down a fight. And even when I was fighting to be the champion, I never turned down a fight. If Dana White called me and said, "You have opponent X, Y, and Z. Who do you want?" He never gave me those options. This is a guy that we want you to face. I said, "Great." That's what I'm going to do.
Fine with me. Guy made his UFC debut in 2010, 7-4-1 record, won each of his last 2 fights by knockouts. His last loss came in May of 2015. How do you match up with him?
Well, I'm a grappler at heart. He's a heavy hitter, and I think that's what the people want to see. The UFC ultimately culminated because we're gonna put guys with opposing disciplines against each other. I think I match up very well. If Mark Hunt ends up on the ground, the fight's over. I've been working, obviously I need to work on my stand-up game, but I'm excited and enthusiastic of doing so.
Why are you going back in the octagon for UFC 200?
Because I couldn't live with that decision. It was like, going back to that interview, it was a hard decision for me to make. And that decision has haunted me for the last 15 months. And I figured I couldn't live like that for the rest of my life. I'm a big believer in living out your dreams and facing your fears and just facing the reality of I don't want to be sitting 20 years from now saying, you know what, son, you should have went and did that. And here I am. And on the biggest stage of them all, I was on UFC 100, so why not be on UFC 200?
How much money are you making with this venture?
I can't disclose. I mean, there's lots of zeros behind it.
Lots of zeros. Like, how many is lots?
Like, whatever it takes to I can't disclose
Saying
that.
Lots
Why
of
would
zeros.
I want to? I'm not here to brag about it. I mean,
Okay.
I'm here to state that, listen, I'm a prize fighter, and everybody's making money. And at the end of the day, this is going to be an exciting show for me. I'm honored to be a part of it. Well, once again, I don't know, but I know of Conor McGregor, and I know that anything. I mean, this sport has evolved even from the first time that I entered into the octagon, and I think people are finding out that you have to talk, and you have to, more importantly, walk the walk. And so for guys that can talk and walk the walk, I think it's great. I think it's great for the company. I got no qualms with anybody. I mean, if somebody wants to state that they're the biggest pay-per-view draw in the world, I don't care. I've never came out and said, "Hey, listen, I hold the most pay-per-view buys." I don't. All I know is what I got paid, and I'm happy to do so. And like I said, I'm a prize fighter. I don't hang my championships on the wall because they don't pay the bills. You know, I got to meet Ali one time, and all I remember when I met and shook the man's hand was he never talked. I mean, at that point, Parkinson's or whatever, the illness had taken over, but I just remember when he extended his hand, and he didn't have to say anything to me. It was a weird, not a weird vibe. It was such a gracious handshake, and it was very. I can't even put a word to it. So I honor.
You felt something.
I felt
powerful.
something powerful from the man, and that's the only. I've watched pretty much all of his fights, but
you did.
I met the man one time and never got to. He never spoke a word to me, but I felt the presence and power from him. So it was impactful. I mean, I think one of the greatest. I mean, here's a guy that's a boxer. Who is selling tickets, talking the talk, and getting in the ring and walking the walk. And he set the stage for. I mean, it's business. It's big business. You got to be flashy on the outside and flashy on the inside. So I think it's a tragedy, and my heart goes out to the family to live with Parkinson's for X number. How many years?
Very difficult.
Very difficult, and that's just a battle in itself. Forget how great of a champion he was. The man had to live with Parkinson's for how many years? That's a feat in its own.